What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Importance Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about them. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. So that's a very famous theme. It's from James Bond. It's his main theme, and is one of the most iconic themes in history for a reason, because there are 50 years worth of James Bond movies, and of course something's going to be iconic when it lasts that long. Before I actually begin, about a year ago I did a kind of retrospective look at the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I really liked doing it. It was a lot of work. It was very exhausting, but gave me kind of a new insight of what the Russo brothers were eventually entailing or kind of going for with Avengers Endgame. And it was a really interesting experiment that I thought paid off for myself and kind of gave me a new way to, review stuff and whatnot. And so we have No Time to Die coming out this year, which is Daniel Craig's last film as James Bond. And I want to talk about James Bond. I'm going to do every single film in the James Bond catalog, and it's going to be long, it's going to be exhausting, but I really enjoy it. There's a lot of films I've never seen before in the James Bond catalog, and I'm really excited to watch them. So eventually, after we get to No Time to Die, and I'm passed out from just watching too much James Bond, I will have officially seen every movie, and I can kind of talk about them to people, telling what my favorite, what my least favorite is, and so on and so forth. But kind of a little bit history of James Bond itself. Ian Fleming came from a very wealthy background. He, of course, participated in World War II, as many people did. He was a journalist, and kind of like J.R. Tolkien, he is very influenced by what was going on in World War II. And he basically created this character named James Bond, which, of course, is very famous now. And he wrote the book Casino Royale, and it became very popular. And so he wrote many, many more books on the James Bond franchise. And this person named Harry Saltzman bought the rights to it to make movies off of. But as things do, he got lazy, didn't really do much with it. And who comes along but Albert Broccoli, who is known as Cubby Broccoli. And rest is history. He convinced Harry Saltzman to basically go into movie making. They made Dr. No, and we got 50 years worth of movies. But this brings in Terrence Young as the director, who directed the first 3 movies in this franchise. We get Richard Maybaum, who basically wrote almost every script for Bond up until License to Kill. And we get Joanna Harwood, who's one of the first females to write screenplays, which was really cool. It was a very interesting profession, because most of the females were editing at the time. So, and then on top of that, we get Sean Connery as his first foray into the James Bond franchise. What can you say? The rest is history. He became one of the most iconic characters in filmmaking history, and there's a reason for that. The James Bond character himself is a very charismatic character. He's a very debonair, very suave character, but he's also a spy for MI6, and he has a license to kill as the 007. The 00 is 2 shots. That's how he got his license to kill. But this movie, to me personally, is because I really just kind of watched it now. I've seen it before, but really paid attention to it now. It's kind of slow in its motives. It's kind of slow in its pacing, but that's kind of maybe deliberate. But maybe because it was made in 1962. I don't know, but it's not as entertaining as I was hoping, which doesn't make it a bad film. It's part of looking through the lens of 2019. The ideas and ideologies behind this time era are very uncomfortable to watch now, because there's a lot of sexism. There's a lot of basically women bowing down to James Bond. There's a lot of, African stereotypes and Jamaican stereotypes. And it's a very uncomfortable thing to watch, but for what it was doing, for what the time period was, it still is more progressive than a lot of films. So the story of Dr. No it's a pretty simple one. It's about James Bond basically going to Jamaica to investigate the disappearance of an MI6 agent. Basically, the MI6 agent was taken down by these characters called the 3 Blind Mice, which are Jamaican assassins. And basically, he goes down there, he tries to find out what's happening. He meets his, all these people, and he learns of this character named Dr. No through this scientist or doctor or whatever it was. And he ends up, taking down some bad guys. He ends up being chased by bad guys. There's some really bad, when the car is driving on a soundstage, you get the really bad screen in the background. And it's just a very simple idea of him just protecting himself, getting, the first Bond girl, and just like sleeping with her. And it's what it is. I don't know. And there's a tarantula in here, which is really kind of fun, because the things that they're doing now are much more inventive than a tarantula that's like climbing up James Bond, because tarantulas are poisonous. But you can see like James Bond sweating or Sean Connery sweating, and it's kind of ridiculous, but it's kind of fun in the same route. But yeah, like I said, that whole lead up until you eventually get to the island where Dr. No's base is at is kind of slow and sluggish and doesn't really have much going for it. And there's this point where he has sex with a woman, and she is basically working for Spectre, and she basically sends an assassin to kill James Bond, and he knows what's going on because it's James Bond. He gets the woman arrested, and there's this like whole sequence where he just kind of rearranges everything. He puts like cups of wine or champagne in spots, and then he takes a bed sheet and a bed pillow and kind of makes it look like he's sleeping in the bed. The assassin, which ends up being that doctor he talked to, shoots the bed, and James Bond, who has his Walter PPK and the silencer, is just standing there waiting for him. But on top of that, he's playing solitaire, which is pretty funny because in this day and age, James Bond would not be playing solitaire, and that whole sequence would not happen because it's just kind of slow and plotting. But he has, I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of fun to watch. I mean, in fact, James Bond's playing solitaire. So, but they get to the island, and we meet Ursula Andress, which is main Bond girl in this movie. And her, introduction is very famous, having her coming out of the water. But the weird thing about this movie is she doesn't come into the story till like an hour into the movie. It's kind of like it's going to be kind of similar to when I talk about From Russia with Love, where like things don't start really happening until like an hour into the movie, and the movie's only an hour and 50 minutes, so you got 50 minutes to get through everything. But that's when the story really gets kind of interesting, because then we're finally introduced to Dr. No, who is just this guy who is just a supervillain who wants to take down the American satellite that's being launched into space for the first time. And his strategies and ideas are very interesting. His layer is really cool. It's, if you've seen Austin Powers, you know where they got their like ideas and kind of inspiration from, because there's a point where they're using plutonium in the water or radiation in the water, and they're wearing plastic suits. And that's exactly what Dr. Evil is wearing in the movie. And you can just see where the inspirations come from, like Dr. No and From Russia with Love. But, you get a really cool villain who is just, like I said, is not in the movie for very long. He doesn't last for very long. And it's kind of a shame. But we're eventually going to get Blofeld. We're eventually going to get Odd Job and Jaws. So, Dr. No doesn't really matter that much. But it's an interesting setup to a first villain to kind of the bigger picture with Spectre. So, but yeah, like I said, Ursula Andress, it's kind of interesting that she was dubbed. I guess maybe because she had trouble probably talking because she's from a different country, I think Sweden or something like that. But yeah, for a first effort, you can see the kinks. You can kind of see the pieces starting to be put together, but it's not a perfect movie. Like I said, it is sluggish in a lot of places. It really feels like they're just kind of working the things out to kind of get Bond to where he eventually becomes. But it's going to take a couple movies to eventually get the Goldfinger. But like I said, it's still an entertaining movie. I think you'll still have a lot of fun with it. But just go in knowing that this isn't Daniel Craig's James Bond. This isn't even Roger Moore. This is the more suave, the guy that doesn't have a lot of gadgets for the time being, but it's just a very cool character to watch that does some cool things. But it's just a very simple story of him trying to recover, take down a plot point. So, but yeah, like I said, we have Bernard Lee as M and Lois Maxwell as Miss Moneypenny, who are constants throughout this series for a little while until they get replaced by other people. But yeah, there's not really much else to talk about with Dr. No. Like I said, it's a very simple story. There's not a whole lot going into it, but it has some cool locales. It has some interesting moments, but it's not going to be, the most fun story in the world. So, but at least it has Sean Connery. So, but that'll do it. That'll be my take on Dr. No. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification button at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch my channel. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video, which is From Russia with Love. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these two videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.